The left front of the Madrid sweater is the next piece to knit. This video builds on the techniques introduced in the Madrid Sweater Part 2, the back. You will find that the turn and roll hem, curving the hemline, and the side and underarm shaping will be familiar, but presented in a context of knitting only the left half of the sweater front. In addition, you will be introduced to new techniques. You will learn to knit the front band and facing, create the fold and seaming columns, shape the neckline, and shape the shoulders while extending the band and facing, which becomes the back neckband. I have also added references to other video tutorials should you wish to do a deep dive. The links for the companion pattern and the tutorials are included in the description below. Let's begin. I have brought 65 needles up to the hold position. I'm going to retract 17 needles on the right because that is my facing. The reason I brought all those needles up was so that I centered it, because as I work the left front, I'm going to need these needles a little bit later. This is the main section. And what I'm going to do is take my stopper plate, drop it in place. I'm not going to leave a long yarn tail because I'm going to weave it in as I go. And I'm just going to E-wrap. What the stopper does, this needle stopper, is it stabilizes the needles so that I can have a very even and consistent E-wrap. It allows me to go faster too. So I'm just going to go across and I'll meet you when I get to the end. And when I get to the end, I just E-wrap that last one, thread up my machine, and I'm good to go. Also, what's nice about having the needle stopper in place for the E-wrapped row is that you can set the cast-on comb very easily. With the hooks facing the machine, just slip it in, bump it up against the stopper, and pull down to set it. Now, remove the needle stopper and set the row counter to 0 because we will be counting rows. I am going to knit 7 rows. Now listen how it goes across. Pretty nice, huh? This is where we turn the knitting with either a garter bar or by using waste yarn. This is fully documented in the Madrid Sweater Part 2, the back, and the tutorial how to machine knit the turn and roll hem. Once it is turned and the carriage is moved to the right, reset the row counter to 8 if it's not already there. Hang the E-wrapped stitches on the needles. Increase the tension to main tension plus 1 full number. Knit 1 row to close the hem. Return the tension to the main tension, and for the left front, knit 1 more row to return the carriage to the right. The row counter is 10. Reset the row counter to 0. You are ready to begin the band and facing. We're going to bring all these needles to hold position. Then, on the right edge, bring the 17 needles of the band and facing back into hold position. Oddly enough, the width of the needle selector is exactly 17 needles. My carriage is going to be set to hold. I'm going to pull down about 14 inches. So I'm going to put a clip here just to keep it in place. And then I'm going to begin E-wrapping these new needles. So I have a big giant loop. So I'm E-wrapping from left to right to get over to the right edge where my carriage is located. So I've E-wrapped to that. I am going to take my smaller cast-on comb and hang it on it because it does need to knit off. Set the carriage to hold in both directions and bring the 17 needles of the band and facing into upper work position and carefully knit the next 2 rows. Since the carriage is set to hold, only the band stitches and facing will knit. Counting from the right edge, mark the 9th and 17th needles of the band section with a water-based marker. We are going to be tucking stitches every other row. When going to the left, bring the marked needles out to hold so they will not knit in this direction. But when they go to the right, I want them to knit. I'm going to knit 1 across, these tucked because the yarn went over the needle. But Now I'm going to bring them to upper work position because I'm in hold. They won't knit up there. So I'm going to knit back. And so they knit. From now on, I'm going to be bringing these out to hold every other row. So they don't knit going to the left, and they will knit going to the right. At this point, I'm also going to begin my short rowing sequence. My row counter is at 4. This is the seaming column, and this will be the folding column. So the main section needles next to the seaming column are right here. So when the carriage is on the right, for the left front, you're going to bring 14 needles into upper work position so they knit. So these will knit, these will not knit, these will knit on the next row. See? Over here, we're going to wrap the needle, the held needle closest to the working needles because we're on the same side as the carriage. These two will go back into upper work so they knit going this way. And that those two rows just joined our button band to our main section. Going this way, we pull out our marked stitches. Over here, we push 14 more back into upper work position. When we go across, these won't knit, these will knit. When we come back, we're going to wrap this stitch on this end, and when we come back, these we want to knit going that way. Bring these out to hold. Then the next 14. Go into upper work position. Knit one row. Wrap the held needle closest to the working needles so we don't get a hole here. These two here go to upper work position and knit back. These come back out. But these go into upper work position. Knit this direction, and these go into upper work, and we knit back. Since this particular machine, the Brother 230, has 2 levers for hold position, once all the needles are back to work position, I can set the left lever to hold and the right lever to knit, and the marked stitches will automatically return to working position. This is the same for the LK150. However, check your manual to learn how your machine behaves. Some machines, like the Brother 270, only have one hold position for both sides. In this case, the carriage should be set to hold at all times, and the marked needles must be returned manually to upper work position every other row when going to the right. We have 2 needles out to hold, and we're going to knit one row. And then we're going to knit back. See how those knit? Because we changed our settings to hold on the left and knit on the right. Once we reach this point where all the stitches are in work, going that way, and we pull these 2 out, we are going to knit like this until we reach row counter 18. So what you're seeing is a column of stitches, of tuck stitches happening, and that one's right over where we have our little join down there. We're on row 18, and we begin the side shaping. For this size, there is a total of 8 decreases every 6 rows. The side shaping is done exactly the same as you did on the back, except for the left front, it is done on the left edge only. If you did your back decreases at the edge, then do it the same way on the left front. If you did your decreases 20 stitches in from the edge, like I did on this sweater, repeat that. There is a lot of flexibility with this pattern. Please refer to the Madrid Sweater Part 2, the back, for more details on side shaping. While you may be focusing on the shaping, don't forget to pull out your marked needles every other row. Just like I did for the back, I marked the needle that will become the edge needle when the side shaping is completed. And as you can see, I'm done. Since I'm doing the left front, I don't have to worry about my buttonholes, so I'm just going to knit until the neckline shaping begins. On row 88, we begin to do the neckline shaping. You have your folding column and your seaming column. The seaming column is right next to the main section. The decreases for the neckline occur over these stitches right here. So you want to take the second needle of the main section and move it to the first needle of the main section. And once again, we're going to transfer all these stitches to close. And fill that needle. So I'm going to just push these all back, bring the stitches forward onto my garter bar. Now, push the needles open. Bring this needle up and make sure that latch is open, and just bring them over and fill the empty needle. These can then be pushed back into the position, or upper work if you happen to get the stitch behind the latch. Now, here's the difference. Remember the marked needles were here and here? It's irrelevant because we just moved them over. They're one more over. You can't go by these markers anymore, so I'm taking them off. What you will go by is where the columns are. So here's the column for this one, the needle that is that column, and here's the one for this one. So now we moved over, but I will caution you, it's very easy to forget this needle. So that needle has to be taken out of work. Otherwise you're going to be increasing over here. But we're going to decrease one every 4 rows for a total of 12 decreases. We've already took one off, so we have 11 more to go. So when this needle here becomes the end needle, we've done all our neckline decreases. One of the other things that you could do is you could count off 11 stitches here. This one could also be marked, because it's very easy to forget this one. And if you accidentally forget it and catch it a few rows later, just do a decrease over here and it'll catch up. That is just the inside facing. It won't show. You can turn it under. You just can't forget them all. But this is the guideline. But you got to be careful right now because we're on row 88. The next thing that comes up real quick is on row 93. So I want you to pay attention as we're doing this, because you might continue to do this really well, but you forget to do your underarm shaping. So now we can continue. We've pulled out our stitches above the columns. You have to watch them. And we're going to do 4 rows. And I'm watching where my column is. And it is in row 92 right now. And what that means is I have to do my decrease over here, my neckline decrease yet again. So let's go over it again. So I want to find my seaming column and go the second one over, transfer it to the first one, then I'm going to grab these end stitches, put them behind the latches, then pull this off onto my garter bar. Open the latches, move over one more to that empty needle, get back in there, and rehang them. Push these all back to upper work or work position depending on where the stitches are. This end needle, move out of work. Then get ready for the knitting the next row. Tuck that one, and it's this one right here. I just put my hand under it so I could see it better. 93 is when we begin the underarm shaping, so all we're going to do is go one row. Now, our attention is going to be over on this end for a little bit. We're going to bind off at the beginning of this row. And the reason we have to do it on this one on 93 and on the right front on 94 is because it positions the yarn on the same side where we have to do the decreases. Okay, so we're going to take the second needle, move it to the first needle, the stitch on the second needle, move it to the stitch on to the first needle, and then knit it off. Transfer this stitch over to the third needle. Take this second from the edge, move it to the first, knit it off, and then move this in one stitch. Then we're going to take this stitch, move it one out, and knit it off. Don't do it the knitting off too tightly. You want it to be a little bit looser. Move it in. So that's, here's the fourth one. Move it out one, knit it off, and move it in one. Now, make sure the 4 needles are out of work. See how this pulls and has a big opening? The best way to fill that is just pick up the purl bump of the inside stitch and hang it over there. That won't show on the outside, but it will keep it from getting a hole. Because you are shaping both the neckline and the underarm at different rates, pay close attention on the next few rows. Also remember that the decrease sequences vary by size, so please refer to the companion pattern. The remaining underarm decreases are all single stitch decreases. When I'm doing the single decreases, I'm going to go to the third stitch, move it to the second, then move the 2 in. It makes a real clean line going up. If you notice, the needle I'm pulling is the marked needle, which is perfect because then I move it over one, and when I move it back, that becomes the needle with the double stitches. And so this is my last row of neckline decreases. So now that the neckline decreases are done and the underarm decreases are done, we're going to continue to constantly pull these needles out until we get to our shaping row. This is where we have to change our settings on our carriage. So I'm in hold and hold. If your machine only has one hold, well, you're there. And this machine is similar to an Alkay where it has 2 different hold buttons, one for each side. So now this is where we start on the left front on row 142 for this particular size. Now this is a small. We're going to start bringing needles to hold. Now I am going to bring and continue to bring to hold these needles here, okay, which are my turning column and my seaming column. Now, over here, I'm going to bring 5 needles to hold because I want these not to knit when I'm going this direction because I'm sloping the shoulder, and I'm going to knit 1 row. Over here, I'm going to wrap the end needle that's in hold right there so that I don't get a hole on my shoulder. Over here, I'm going to have to push these back into upper work position, otherwise they will not knit off. So on this way, I want them to knit. So knit back. The next row, I pull these back out to hold, and I bring the next 5. 2, 4, 5. And knit back 1 row. So I have a little bit more over here of the shoulder. Wrap this end held needle, bring these back to upper work, and knit back. Bring these out to hold. Bring the next 5 on the shoulder to hold. 2, 4, 5. Knit back. Wrap this end held needle so I don't create a hole, and bring these back to upper work. Knit 1 row. Okay, now this is where it gets fun. We're going to finish this part off. First we're going to bring this one out to hold and this one out to hold for my turning column and my seaming column,
and I'm going to bring these 4 into hold. So the 19 needles over here are my shoulder. These are still my facing and button band. Okay, I'm going to knit 1 over. I'll wrap that end needle, even though it's part of this band.
And then bring this one to upper work position.
And I'm going to knit back. Now, my shoulder is going back into upper work. This is still in hold because when I go this way, I don't want this to knit. Okay? So what's going to happen is all these are going to knit, all these are going to knit, these are going to hold on this one row. Knit back. Now, on the very next row, I'm going to put these into upper work position so that everything knits when I get over to this side. Okay? That closed up all these wrap stitches over on the shoulder. Now, this is where I unthread my carriage. And I am going to thread it with waste yarn. Now, the 17 needles of the band are all going to come to hold so they don't knit on the next row, because all I want to do is knit off the shoulder and take it off on waste yarn. So now I'm going to knit across this next row. These will not knit, these will knit. I can take this and bring it down here, and I'm just going to knit several rows in waste yarn. I'm going to trim this, and I'm going to knit back. These will all drop off the machine. So the only thing I have left are these needles, but these are still in work, so I have to take these out of work. So I'm returning to the right. Now, whatever, we have to knit an additional, for this particular size, we have to knit an additional 19 rows. So I'm just going to reset my row counter to 0. So I'm going to bring them all to upper work position. And that one that's in the center, that I'm going to just bring that into the hold position. This one I'm going to leave in knit because it's on the edge, and tucking on the edge is not that good an idea. You can do it, but it just looks kind of weird. I've done it. That's how I know. So we're just going to be paying attention to this one at this point, which means I can hold going this direction, and I can switch my carriage back to knit going to the right. So and we want to end on row 19, and they're all knit. Now we can just leave ourselves 3 or 4 widths of the needle bed where the needles are active. I'm going to cut the yarn, and the reason I left 4 widths is because I'm going to take this off on waste yarn, and I'm going to join it a special way. Go back to my waste yarn, and I'm just going to knit several rows. Cut the yarn and get it off. And there's our left front, all shaped, ready to go, very few ends to weave in, and the ones that are left are going to be used to put it together later.
The Madrid Sweater Part 4, the right front, is very similar to working the left front. There are subtle differences, however, when it comes to shaping of the hem, the underarm, and the shoulders. So we will cover these, plus the placement of the buttonholes on the facing. Thank you for watching this video. Please take a moment to subscribe and ring the bell to receive notifications of upcoming videos and events. Happy machine knitting!